I think everything from an economical perspective starts from the infrastructure that we have in place. South Africa at the moment plays a critical role in the intra-Africa trade, and it also plays quite an important role for attracting foreign investment. But typically foreign investors would look at infrastructure and the level and the sophistication of that infrastructure before they finally make that decision. And if we want to retain our position on the continent as the economic powerhouse, we urgently need to relook our current infrastructure.
So how does infrastructure then determine the location of economic activity?
Infrastructure determines that very simply, Elvis, because of the cost associated with the logistics element of economic growth. We know for a fact already that logistics adds approximately 43% of the cost of goods around the globe. And in order for us to remain competitive and in order for us to attract foreign investment, we need to make that infrastructure a lot more accessible and a lot easier to operate within in order for South Africa to retain its competitiveness and its position, which sadly we are losing to countries such as Mauritius, which is a wonderful example for South Africa, what can be achieved.
Now, why does infrastructure play such a key role in removing the logistical barriers that's facing the trade activity in our region?
I think, Elvis, there are a couple of points. Cost is added to the production of anything every time you have to move it, every time you have to reach it, and every time that you have to add value to it. So from a cost perspective, it's absolutely critical that we get that infrastructure to be operating as well as it should. And then also to make you competitive. If you talk about cross-border trade, for example, infrastructure often provides a barrier to entry in order to enable that intra-Africa trade. And one of the things that we need to focus on the continent is the intra-Africa trade. But we can only improve that if there's an improved infrastructure in place.
Now, the country has untapped productive potential and resources, and you attribute this to the current underdeveloped infrastructure. Please elaborate on that.
I think the issue with that, Elvis, is that because we don't have a proper infrastructure in place, we don't get to add as much value to our raw product in the country as we possibly can. So often what we see is that these goods are flown out in its raw format and we import it back into the country at enormous cost. It also, therefore, stands to reason that with the underdeveloped infrastructure that we have, we can add a tremendous amount of work opportunities within the country if we invest in that infrastructure.
Now, why is the focus then on creating a more favorable trade environment also very vital for us?
It's vital, Elvis, because we want to be more competitive in global terms. South Africa has to look beyond its immediate borders in order to sustain economic growth, and we need that sustained economic growth in order to improve conditions for everybody living in this country. And a key part of that is improving our infrastructure.
So when we talk about infrastructure, we're talking everything from transport to logistics all together, all in one.